I'm Stefan Baumann, and thank you for tuning in again on another podcast. Today I discuss with one of my students the importance of understanding what artist block is. Artist block is not unusual. In fact, I believe that if you haven't really experienced artist block, you haven't really experienced being an artist. I think the feeling of constantly questioning yourself about what it is that you do and why you do it and whether or not it has purpose and what your relationship is to art and life and your role as an artist, how to express things to people, how you're going to be unique, whether or not you even have value. Are you offering anything to a viewer that has got any kind of value for them? I discussed this with one of my students, and this is the advice that I gave her. So sit back, relax, listen in to the trials and tribulations of dealing with artist block. Congratulations, you are officially an artist because you have artist block. Yeah, artist block is definitely something that is you don't get artist block unless you are concerned about your art. If you were just a 4-year-old just enjoying painting and you didn't give a darn about yourself, you would never get artist block because what's more fun than to play and paint? But artist block is a real thing, and it can paralyze you to the point that you can seriously stop painting forever. And it's the first weeding out process that the art gods have to see whether or not you are tenacious enough to pursue art, because it takes some tenacity. And remember, there's like 3 legs to the platform that artists have to stand on. They have to have desire, they have to have discipline, and they have to have tenacity. And the tenacious part is to work through all the barriers. And artist block is probably the biggest barrier. It's a real thing. Artists have it. And it causes you literally to question everything about life and your interaction with art. Never fear. If you're seriously in the pursuit of being an artist, you will overcome. The problem is that if you're on the sidelines and you're serious about becoming an artist and you hit artist block, and yet your income and your livelihood doesn't depend on painting, this is the first weeding out of artists when you first get this. And it's the first time you've actually seen it since we've done coaching. You're young, so you're going to have a lot of these. Sometimes it will impede your painting process for a couple of weeks. Sometimes it will cause you to stop painting for a bulk of time if your income doesn't require it. And if you have another source of income and enough distraction, it will actually cause you to quit or stop for long periods of time. I've had artists say, well, I just need to take a break. I'll be back in a couple months, I'm sure, and I'll see them 5 years later. I go, so how was that break? And they go, oh, I got to get back to classes because I'm not painting at all. And at least when you have discipline. I think a lot of people are taking coaching because it keeps them disciplined to painting. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to figure out a way to overcome this. I think you're doing a real good job right now just working on your website. Sometimes if you're focused in on your website, you can kind of overcome artist block because you start looking at your artwork as, how am I going to sell this? What is my style? What is my ideals of being an artist? So that's a good way. Another good way is to sit down and just copy some of the masters that you enjoy. Just take a famous painter like Sargent and copy. And sometimes, you do need a shift. Sometimes you're just bored with your work. It's like, oh God, if I have to paint another ball on a yellow box, I can't do it anymore. It's like, sometimes these are points where you look at your art and you go, really? really? I'm in there. Sometimes you get artist block because you're kind of in a dream and you wake up and you think you're an artist and then you realize, wow, I'm not. You know, so there's a lot of reasons for it. But the thing is, if you don't really ever get to artist block, if you don't feel that that you're not worthy, and what am I doing this for, and I can't come up with an idea, and I don't know why am I painting, then basically you've never really started to become an artist, because it is so common. And sometimes it will take a few weeks, sometimes it takes a few years. The main way of getting through artist block is not to allow it to take over, because it is the first sign that the painting gods are out there. They're testing you. They're saying, are you really serious? And it is the first, because I think most people get artist block when they come out of art college. And it's like, okay, now what? And they just become drained. They've been drained through their work. Sometimes artists will get it when they after an art show, or when they have something that they do their painting. After an art show, you can end up with artist block. There's also another type of artist block, and that is it's a little bit like peer pressure, or even like parent pressure. And what can happen is, you reach a certain age and you go, I know what I am as an artist. I don't know where I fit into the art culture. I don't have a gallery. I don't know. Am I going to be more of a contemporary artist, or am I going to be a little bit more of a traditional artist? And sometimes working on a website will help you kind of look at your portfolio. Now, your website is a portfolio, and when we delve into a website, there's a time when artist block happens, because you start objectively looking at the work that you've done, and you go, okay, so who am I as an artist? And so you could have all the inspiration in the world, and you say, so who am I as an artist? Am I somebody that paints realism or contemporary painting? Am I an artist that does more commissions? How am I going to survive? It's like, if I can't survive as an artist, who am I going to marry so that they can support me while I figure this out? I mean, there's just a lot of life questions. And so a lot of times doing a website, looking over your Instagram, looking at what people are doing out there in social media, can do one of two things. One, it can totally throw you into such a depression that artist blocks become the way of your life. I mean, you just kind of break down, and that's where you have to have tenacity. You really have to work through these blocks, and it doesn't do any good to take a break. What does good is to persevere and drive on in spite of this, and it hurts. It's the hardest thing to be in a studio when you're kind of in this realm, because it's hard to let go and question, and it's the questioning of who am I? Am I any good? We're in a craft where instantly people judge us. We're in that thing, and we do it to ourselves. But if you have a shitty doctor, you have to see them for a while before you go, wow, that doctor's really stupid. Or if you go to a lawyer, he's going to charge you anyways, and after a few months you go, I think my lawyer's stupid. When you read a book, you've got to read a chapter or two before you say, hey, this story stinks. Even a movie, you'll sit through 45 minutes going, okay, the movie's got to start at some point. If you listen to music, you got to sit and listen to it for a while before you have an opinion. But the problem is that you're creating something that people give you 1/100th of a second of judgmental of whether or not you're good or not. And when you go to an art show, and this is where a lot of the art breakdowns are, is they go to an art show and people are walking by your work, and they're not even looking up. They don't even they glance over and they keep walking, and you go, oh my God, it's like I just suck because I can't. So you go, shoot, because the judgmental thing is so quick. Everybody's been guilty of this. You open up a gallery door and you look in, and you'll within a second you've seen everything in the gallery, and you'll walk out. People will look at your work, say, oh, I'm an artist, and they'll look up and they go, oh, that's nice, and then they look down again. and you feel like, you're just spent like a prostitute, like you've given your heart to this work of art, and people just give you the back of the hand like it's not important. And you've got to make life questions now. You're fairly young. It's like, do I pursue this, or do I go get another job? And that's the problem too. The art muse, the art gods out there throw these challenges at you, saying, are you woman enough? Are you man enough to barrel through these judgmental things? Are you big enough as an artist to overcome the people's judgments, and everything you're going to do, everything that you ever paint from now on, people will either like it or they won't. And you'll find out that as you go on to society, it's like what you believe in, you'll find a very small group of people that really like your work. But the good thing is that you don't need a lot. You only need 20 or 30 people who think you're just fabulous. You just need to find them, and that's why you kind of throw yourself into your website and figure out what your message is. And sometimes artist block is just that. It's like, so who am I? Who am I as an artist? What is this art? What am I trying to say? Do I have anything to say? And a lot of times you go on this quest of like, what's the meaning of life? And that's a pretty big question to ask yourself. And we don't even want to go into that. So artist block is a real thing. Don't let it take you down, because it will. I've seen it happen to lots of artists, a lot of, even really great artists. It's if you're tenacious, you'll overcome it. If you work at it, you overcome it. Oftentimes, just looking at or writing a blog about it. Blogging is a really great source of figuring out, who you are as an artist. People go, I don't know what to do with a blog. Well, blogs are very much like a diary. Well, I think it's important, and I think what's important is that, nobody's going to be reading it right now. But with blogging, what you do is you say, you just come out and say, I'm blogging right now because I don't know who I am as an artist, and I have artist block. And you just start writing about it. It's like an open diary. And you share with people. And the more you share yourself, the more in common people find you. A lot of times artists are like this separate group of people that are kind of strange and unusual. They dress funny, they talk funny, and you're outside of the realm. And a lot of times people go, I'm not worthy to talk to an artist. They love to have artist friends, but I think when they realize that artists suffer from the same issues that everyone else does. It's like, who am I in love with, or am I ever going to find love, or whether, do I see life interestingly, or is it just as boring for an artist as anyone else? Once you finally start making a connection with people through your art, and the thing is, it will be one at a time. And if you find one person that starts listening to your blogs, they may tell somebody else, because there's a common thread with people. And once you get on that thread, you start actually knitting a sweater. And you start putting together things. So you start off with a blog, you start telling people, hey, this is who I am. There's a movie out there called Julia, which is the story of Julia Childs. And it's told through a girl that blogged about doing her recipe book. And it's an actual true story. And she started off for months not getting anybody, and towards the end she had huge following. And she would just blog about the trials and tribulations of becoming a chef by following, a recipe book. People found that in common. And if you find something in common with people out there, you find an audience that's willing to listen to you, that finds you fascinating, that looks at your blogging and starts to read about you and care about you, you start building a fan club. And that's why blogging is so important. Artist block is that it does have you sit down and put into order the chaos that's in your head. So try getting your website up, and then try to put a blogging section in. And then try to blog maybe every day. Nobody wants to read a newsletter. I mean, I think newsletters are so like, it's like, oh, wow, Home Depot's got a newsletter. It's like, wow, there's pipes for sale. So nobody wants to really listen to a newsletter. I think if you can create your blog as a personal diary that people get to see and witness with the mindset of an artist, and it also will help you start looking at your work to find the value in it, rather than just finding something that looks pretty. If you have to blog about things, and you start talking about, let's say, love, and you go, oh God, I know I'm an artist, but I'm just lonely. I need the connection with somebody human that, to breathe some fresh air into my artwork. And you share that with people. People feel that way too. And, a lot of people find that their lives are pretty mundane. And when they open up a blog, they realize that, they read your life, and they go, well, she's an artist. She must really have, the world in her hands, and I'm just, answering phones for a living. And then they realize, wow, you have the same problems they have, and there's a connection there. It's a good way to start connecting people to who you are, and then take them along on your journey. And in that process, they want to acquire artwork. They want to have a piece of you to remind them that there's another life, there's another path, there's beauty out there, and they feel really connected. Even if they participate in a painting, you go, I decided to do a painting with the conversation of what is love, and you kind of share that process over a period of time. The people who start following your blogs are actually going to be very interested in acquiring the painting, or even a reproduction of it, because they feel like they've had a connection with it. So I think a lot of artists look at blogging and they go, oh, it has to be this and this. My blogs tend to be more about teaching art, because that's what I do, a lot of. But I also have a blog spot where it's my life on the side of a volcano, which is, talks about my life here. And it's more of a personal diary. You might find your north by doing your blog. So blog is a good way to work through artist block. Your blog should be about 300 words. I would include some pictures. Your first blog, what I would do is just blog about you, where you are, where you live, some of your dreams. It's basically an introduction to the world of who you are. And so start off a blog that way, and then start day by day. Just sit down and try to write. 300 words seems intimidating, but when you start, you get kind of good at it. I am a terrible writer. I cringe at the thought of writing anything, but in the process you'll become better, and you'll actually enjoy. And writing something is like painting something. And you ask yourself, can I write something that's visual? Can I sit down and create a painting through words? So if you look at writing that way, it's like a blank canvas, and you just start making marks on it. In this case, it's words, and you just start sharing and exposing yourself. Exposing your fears. That is probably the best way to connect with people, to let them know that you're vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, people let their guard down, and you can talk with them and bring them into your world. And go rent the movie Julia, Julia. Break through your artist block by starting a blog, and just have the discipline and the tenacity to work through it. Because you got to be tenacious to work through this, and we'll find a comfortable place for you to go to, okay? And I'll talk to you next week. So if you'd like to get more information about my videotapes on YouTube or other podcasts, or if you'd like to get more information about coaching, please just go to my website at www.stefanbaumann.com, and there you can get all that information. Plus, you can also register for a free book, Everything I Know About Landscape Painting. If you'd like to discuss with me more about coaching, please don't hesitate to give me a call at 415-606-9074. Again, that's 415-606-9074. So till the next time we meet, do good work, and to always remember to paint with passion. Have a grand day.